My name is Avery Mitchell, 32 years old, and I never thought my own sister would publicly humiliate me at her wedding. When I discovered my assigned seat was in the hallway by the bathrooms, not even in the main reception, something inside me finally broke. I grabbed my purse and walked out, tears streaming down my face as I drove away from Madison's perfect day. My phone buzzed relentlessly with angry messages before I even reached the highway. If I had known what leaving would trigger, I might have thought twice. Before I dive into this wild story, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever dealt with family drama. Trust me, you'll want to stick around to see how this twisted tale of betrayal and revenge unfolds. To understand what happened at Madison's wedding, you need to know our history. Growing up, Madison and I were actually close. Two sisters born just 2 years apart, we shared clothes, secrets, and dreams. In our matching dresses at family gatherings, adults would coo over how adorable we were. But around middle school, things began to change. Madison blossomed into this stunning, socially gifted teenager while I remained awkward, preferring books to parties. Our parents noticed the difference too, especially our mother, Diana. Suddenly, Madison was the golden child who could do no wrong. She was beautiful, popular, and excelled at everything socially important to our image-obsessed mother. "Madison's bringing the Reynolds boy to dinner," Mom would announce proudly. "His father is on the hospital board." Meanwhile, my academic achievements barely warranted acknowledgement. When I made the honor roll, Mom simply nodded and said, "That's nice, dear," before turning to help Madison prepare for her cheerleading competition. Dad was different, though. William Mitchell was a successful businessman who'd built his fortune from nothing, and he valued hard work and integrity over social climbing. He'd slip into my room after those dinner parties where I'd been all but invisible and say, "Your brain will take you further than any beauty queen title, Avery." Those moments kept me sane. The pattern established early, Madison shined, I existed in her shadow, and slowly I became the family scapegoat. When something went wrong, it was automatically my fault. "A broken vase, Avery, you need to be more careful." Even when Madison admitted to borrowing the car without permission, somehow I was blamed for setting a bad example by being so irresponsible. Dad tried to balance things, but Mom controlled the day-to-day household, and her preference was clear. This dynamic followed us into adulthood, with Madison going into public relations, perfect for someone so charming and socially adept, while I pursued accounting, finding comfort in the orderliness of numbers. Everything changed dramatically 5 years ago when Dad died unexpectedly of a heart attack. Beyond the devastating emotional loss, his will revealed he had been paying attention all along. While he left the family home to Mom and divided many assets equally, he left me a separate inheritance, a significant investment portfolio he'd been building for years. The note attached said simply, "For Avery, who will manage this wisely. I've always seen your worth." Mom was furious. Madison was stunned. It wasn't that they received less, Dad had been more than generous with everyone, but the special acknowledgement to me felt like a posthumous rebuke to their treatment of me. From that day forward, my already strained relationship with them deteriorated further. Then, 2 years ago, Madison met Ryan Sullivan at a charity gala. The Sullivans were old money with influence stretching across 3 states. Their courtship was brief, and when they announced their engagement, our mother practically levitated with joy. Finally, we would be connected to true society, everything she had aspired to. The wedding planning consumed them both. Mom essentially moved into Madison's condo to oversee every detail. I was kept at arm's length, receiving occasional updates but never truly included. "We're going with blush and gold for the colors," Madison mentioned during one of our infrequent coffee dates. "Mom thinks it will photograph beautifully with the Sullivan Estate gardens as backdrop." I nodded, offering, "That sounds lovely. Do you need help with anything?" Her hesitation was brief but noticeable. "Actually, Mom's handling everything. She's hired the best wedding planner in the state." About 3 months before the wedding, something unexpected happened. Madison called me, sounding more like my childhood sister than she had in years. "Avery, I've been thinking, would you be one of my bridesmaids? Not maid of honor, that's going to be my college roommate, but I'd like you there with me." The invitation stunned me. Hope flickered that perhaps we could repair our relationship. I agreed immediately, emotion catching in my throat. 2 weeks later, Madison called again. About the bridesmaid thing. Mom thinks 7 attendants would be asymmetrical with Ryan's 5 groomsmen. We need to cut 2 people, and since you were the last addition. I never heard what excuse came next, because Mom had grabbed the phone. Avery, don't make this difficult. Madison needs everything perfect for the Sullivans. You understand, right? Your coloring doesn't really work with the dresses anyway. That was the moment I should have known what was coming at the wedding itself. But foolishly, I still hoped. The morning of Madison's wedding, I woke up with genuine excitement. Despite everything, I wanted to support my sister on her big day. I'd spent weeks searching for the perfect gift, a rare first edition of poetry she'd loved as a teenager, before our relationship soured, and had invested in an expensive dress that carefully adhered to the blush and gold color scheme without outshining the bridal party. I'd even splurged on professional hair and makeup, wanting to look appropriate for the high society photographs. Maybe today will be different, I told my reflection, smoothing the silk dress that had cost a full week's salary. Maybe this is where we turn a corner. The Sullivan estate was spectacular, with manicured gardens stretching toward the horizon and staff efficiently directing guests. I arrived early, clutching my carefully wrapped gift, and followed the signs to the ceremony area. Immediately, I noticed the family section was being seated. "Excuse me," I approached an usher, "I'm the bride's sister." He checked his list with a frown. "Mitchell. Avery, you're not on the family seating chart." "There must be a mistake," I insisted, embarrassment warming my cheeks as nearby guests glanced over. After an uncomfortable discussion, I was eventually seated in the last row, far from where my mother sat in the front, with the Sullivan parents beaming with pride. During the ceremony, I pushed aside my hurt feelings. Madison looked stunning in her designer gown, and the love between her and Ryan seemed genuine. I clapped enthusiastically as they were pronounced husband and wife, still hoping the reception might offer a chance to reconnect. As guests moved toward the grand tent for the reception, I followed the crowd. At the entrance, elegantly calligraphed seating assignments directed everyone to their tables. Scanning the board, I couldn't find my name. "Excuse me," I approached the wedding planner, a sleek woman with a tablet. "I don't see my assignment." She swiped through her tablet with manicured nails, expression professionally neutral. "Avery Mitchell, yes, you're seated in the overflow area." She gestured to a small separate space off the main tent, essentially a hallway connecting to the restrooms. A few small tables were positioned there, clearly an afterthought. "There must be a mistake," I said, my voice small. "I'm the bride's sister." Her expression flickered with brief discomfort. "I'm sorry, but this assignment came directly from the bride and her mother. They were very specific about the seating arrangements." Before I could respond, I overheard 2 bridesmaids nearby, their voices carrying as they refreshed their lipstick. "Can you believe Diana put Madison's actual sister in the hallway by the bathrooms?" one giggled. "Madison said she didn't want Avery in any of the important photos or mingling with Ryan's family," the other replied. "Apparently she's been jealous of Madison her whole life and always makes a scene." My blood ran cold as their words registered. This wasn't an oversight. It was deliberate humiliation. Moments later, I spotted a clipboard left momentarily unattended at the planner's station. A quick glance confirmed my worst fears. Next to my name was a note, "Seat in overflow area, as discussed with bride. Keep away from Sullivan family tables. Not to be included in family photos." A memory surfaced. Madison 16, deliberately inviting me to a party where everyone else wore costumes, watching me walk in wearing normal clothes to a room of stares and snickers. Or Madison 22, forgetting to tell me our cousin's wedding had been postponed, causing me to drive 4 hours to an empty venue. These public humiliations had been a pattern. I had simply been blind to it, always making excuses, always hoping for better. I stood frozen, my gift still clutched in my hands, as the reality crashed over me. My own sister had gone out of her way to emphasize my unimportance on her wedding day. My mother had helped orchestrate it. As guests streamed past me to their prime seating in the beautiful tent, something inside me finally broke. Years of accepting, less of making excuses, of hoping for change, it all crystallized into a moment of clarity. I placed the carefully wrapped first edition on a gift table and turned around. Leaving already? I startled at the male voice. A man with kind eyes and Ryan's distinctive jawline stood watching me with curiosity. Words failed me as tears threatened. I'm Jason Ryan's brother, he offered. And you must be Avery. Ryan's mentioned you. I need to go. I managed mortification burning through me at being seen in this vulnerable moment. His eyes took in my expression, then glanced toward the seating chart and back to me with dawning comprehension. I see. I'm sorry. Unable to respond, I hurried toward the parking area, fumbling for my car keys as tears blurred my vision. Behind me, the sounds of celebration continued, uninterrupted by my departure. My absence wouldn't even create a ripple in their perfect day. As I pulled away from the Sullivan estate, my phone began buzzing with incoming messages. I'd made my choice. There was no going back now. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing during the drive home. I ignored it, focusing on navigating through tears. Only when I reached my apartment did I check the barrage of notifications. 15 missed calls from my mother, 5 from Madison, dozens of text messages. My mother's voicemail played first. Avery Elizabeth Mitchell, how dare you walk out on your sister's wedding? The Sullivans noticed your little disappearing act, and we had to make excuses for your childish behavior. If you think your father's money makes you special, think again. I've had enough of your jealousy and attention seeking. You're cut off from this family completely unless you apologize immediately. Madison's message was eerily calm. I always knew you'd find a way to make my special day about you. Congratulations on proving me right. Your pathetic jealousy is showing, Avery. Ryan's family is asking questions now. Thanks for ruining everything as usual. The text messages were worse. Mom had apparently mobilized aunts, uncles, and cousins, all expressing their disappointment in my selfish behavior and jealousy issues. I sank onto my couch, stunned by the rapid mobilization against me. Not one person had asked for my side of the story. Not one person had wondered why I'd left. Curiosity led me to social media, where my heart sank further. Madison had already posted a carefully worded update. Even perfect days have one sad note. Heartbroken that my sister's personal issues prevented her from sharing our joy today. Some people simply can't handle seeing others happy. Please respect our privacy during this family difficulty as we celebrate our union. The comments flooded with support for the poor bride dealing with a jealous sister on her wedding day. My cousin Rachel, who I'd been close to growing up, had commented, always drama with Avery. So sorry you had to deal with this today, Maddie. Friends I'd known for years were liking Madison's post, accepting her version without question. The narrative had been established with frightening speed. Avery, the jealous sister, caused a scene at perfect Madison's wedding. When my phone rang again, I almost ignored it, until I saw it was Michael Reynolds, my boss. Avery, I've received some concerning calls about you, he began without preamble. Your mother contacted me directly, worried about your mental state. She mentioned erratic behavior at a family event today. My stomach dropped. Michael, that's not... Look, I'm not getting involved in family drama, he interrupted, but when it affects our clients, I need to address it. The Hendersons specifically asked if you're still handling their accounts after hearing some rumors. Rumors, Michael, the wedding was 4 hours ago. The Sullivan name carries weight. Avery, people talk. His tone softened slightly. Take Monday off. Get things sorted with your family. We'll discuss this further next week. After hanging up, I sat in stunned silence. The attack was systematic and strategic. My reputation, my relationships, my career, all under fire within hours of leaving the wedding. That night, anonymous messages began flooding my social media accounts. Spoiled brat. Always jealous of your beautiful sister. Attention seeker. Some mentioned details of my childhood that only family would know, though the accounts were unfamiliar. By morning, the campaign had escalated. Former classmates messaged about Madison's concerns for my mental health. Mutual friends sent tentative texts asking if I was getting help. A client emailed to take some personal time from their account. The attack was so swift and comprehensive that I began doubting myself. Was I overreacting to the seating arrangement? Was I truly jealous of Madison? The gaslighting was working. Only my friend Zoe Richardson remained firmly in my corner after hearing the full story. They seated you by the bathrooms, Avery. Your own sister. That's not a misunderstanding, that's calculated humiliation, she insisted over coffee on Sunday. And now they're playing victim because you refuse to accept it. That's textbook manipulation. Her clarity helped stabilize me, but the assault continued. By Monday, rumors had reached even distant professional contacts. I discovered my mother and Madison were contacting people directly, expressing concerns about my mental stability and long-standing jealousy issues. The whispered diagnosis. Probably borderline personality disorder. She's always been unstable. Madison has protected her for years. The character assassination was breathtaking in its thoroughness. A lifetime of casting me as the problematic one had prepared the ground perfectly. People easily accepted this latest episode as part of an established pattern. That evening, I received an email that chilled me to the bone. An anonymous account had sent screenshots of private therapy notes from sessions I'd attended after my father died. The subject line read, "Unstable much." Someone had accessed my private medical information. The violation was profound. When I called my therapist's office in a panic, their system showed no breach. "But someone did call last week to confirm you were a patient here," the receptionist admitted. "They said they were from your insurance company." The pieces fell into place. This wasn't just an emotional response to my wedding exit. This was a calculated campaign to destroy me personally and professionally. My family wasn't just angry, they were out for blood. As I sat in my darkened apartment that night, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "You shouldn't have embarrassed Madison in front of the Sullivans. This is just the beginning." I realized then that walking out of that wedding had triggered something far more dangerous than I could have imagined. This wasn't family drama, it was warfare. Tuesday morning, I attempted to buy coffee and found my card declined. Embarrassed, I used cash and rushed to check my bank account online. Access denied. I called customer service immediately. "We received authorization paperwork changing the access protocols," the representative explained. "The primary account holder implemented new security measures." "I am the primary account holder," I insisted. A pause. "Our records show this account is jointly held with Diana Mitchell, who has primary authorization rights." My stomach dropped. The inheritance account from my father, the one that had caused so much resentment, had originally been established with my mother as a joint holder until I turned 30. I'd neglected to remove her after the birthday transition, never imagining she would abuse that access. "What's the current balance?" I asked, my voice shaking. Another pause. "The account shows a transfer of $341.720 to another account 3 days ago. The wedding day. While I was getting ready to support my sister, my mother was emptying my inheritance. In a daze, I called George Peterson, my father's attorney, who had handled the estate. "Avery, I've been meaning to call you," he said, sounding uncomfortable. "There's been a development regarding your father's estate." "My mother stole my inheritance," I stated flatly. His silence confirmed it. "It's more complicated than theft, legally speaking. Your mother presented documentation paperwork you supposedly signed, restructuring the inheritance distribution. I never signed anything." I had concerns about the signatures, he admitted. "But Diana had witnesses, including Madison, attesting they saw you sign." Given the family relationship, I didn't pursue verification as perhaps I should have. The betrayal cut deep. They hadn't just stolen my money, they'd forged my signature and corrupted my father's final wishes. "George, I need copies of everything, and I need to know exactly when this happened." As I hung up, my apartment buzzer rang. The building manager stood at my door looking apologetic. "Miss Mitchell, there seems to be confusion. We received paperwork terminating your lease effective next month." He handed me a copy of the termination request with my forged signature at the bottom. "I didn't sign this," I said, voice hollow. "It came with all the proper identification," he said uncomfortably. "Your mother submitted it saying you'd authorized her to handle your affairs while you dealt with personal issues. They were systematically dismantling my life, finances, housing, reputation, career, all while spreading rumors about my mental instability to ensure no one would believe me when I fought back. That night, sleeping on Zoe's couch after packing emergency essentials, I received an email from Jason Sullivan, Ryan's brother from the wedding. "I think we should talk. This isn't right." The next morning, I met with Sarah Blackwell, an attorney specializing in financial fraud. Her office felt like the first safe space I'd encountered in days. "This is textbook financial abuse," she said after reviewing my documents. "The joint account exploitation, the forgery, the coordinated character assassination to discredit you when you fight back, it's unfortunately common in family wealth disputes. Your mother and sister have created a narrative making you seem unstable precisely so that when you accuse them of theft, people won't believe you. Can we prove the forgery? Handwriting experts can analyze the signatures. More concerning is how comprehensive this attack is. The timing suggests planning this wasn't a spontaneous reaction to you leaving the wedding. The wedding was just a trigger point, I realized. They've been building toward this. We need to move quickly to protect what's left," she advised. "Secure new accounts at different banks. Document everything. And prepare yourself, this will get worse before it gets better." As I left her office, Jason Sullivan called. "I have information you need to hear," he said. "About Madison and your mother. They've been planning something for months. And you're not their first target." We met at a quiet cafe across town where Madison's social circle wouldn't spot us. Jason Sullivan looked different from the wedding, more serious, less polished. He placed a leather portfolio on the table between us. "Ryan doesn't know I'm meeting you," he began. "He's infatuated with Madison. Refuses to see the red flags." "Red flags." Jason opened the portfolio. "I work in corporate security. When my brother got engaged so quickly, I had concerns. The background check on Madison seemed clean, but something felt off about Diana's eagerness to connect with our family." He pushed a document toward me. "Your father's company, Mitchell Developments, was acquired after his death. The acquiring company is a shell corporation that traces back to a trust managed by Diana." "That's impossible," I said. "Dad would never sell to her. They had completely different business philosophies." "He didn't sell," Jason said quietly. "According to these records, transfer of ownership occurred 3 weeks after his death. Your father's signature appears on documents dated after he died." The implication hit me like a physical blow. She forged his signature on corporate documents. Jason nodded. "And it wasn't the first time. I found a pattern of questionable financial maneuvers dating back years. Diana has systematically consolidated your family's assets under her control, removing your father's safeguards one by one. But why target me now? Why so aggressively? This June trust distribution," he pointed to another document. "Your father created a secondary trust that matures on your 35th birthday with specific anti-contestation clauses. It's significant and completely outside Diana's control." The pieces aligned with sickening clarity. My 35th birthday was in 3 months. They weren't just punishing me for leaving the wedding, they were eliminating me as a financial threat before I gained access to funds they couldn't touch. "Madison knows about this." Jason hesitated. "Madison isn't just aware, she's an active participant. I found these in her planning binder while staying at their condo." He showed me photos of a handwritten timeline titled Avery Contingency Plan. It outlined a step-by-step strategy to discredit me professionally and personally isolate me from support systems, and create documentation of mental instability that could be used for legal purposes. My sister's handwriting. My sister's plan to destroy me. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked, fighting nausea. "Ryan is marrying into this family." "Because it's wrong," Jason said simply. "And because you're not the first. They did something similar to your father's former business partner's daughter. And Ryan." He paused. "Ryan needs to see who he's really married before they start a family." We formed an alliance that afternoon. Jason had resources and investigative skills. I had intimate knowledge of family history and financial structures. Together with my attorney Sarah, we developed a counter-strategy. First, we secured my remaining assets, opening new accounts at banks where my mother had no relationships. Sarah filed emergency injunctions to freeze the fraudulently transferred funds pending investigation. Jason used his security connections to place basic protection on my digital accounts and helped me secure temporary housing that couldn't be traced to me. The most surprising discovery came when we connected with my father's old friend and business partner, Thomas Warren. When contacted, he wasn't surprised by my story. "Your father suspected Diana was interfering with his business," Thomas revealed during our meeting. "The last few months before his heart attack, he was gathering evidence for potential legal action. He became suspicious when financial documents went missing from his home office." "Did he confront her?" I asked. "He was building a case first," Thomas said. "William was methodical that way. After his death, I tried reaching out to you, but Diana intercepted all communications. The most crucial breakthrough came when Thomas mentioned a safe deposit box. William told me he'd left something for you if anything happened to him. Said it was insurance." The bank confirmed my father had indeed established a safe deposit box in both our names weeks before his death. Inside, we found a sealed letter addressed to me, along with a USB drive and original copies of financial documents. The letter made me weep. "Avery, if you're reading this, my concerns were justified. Diana has been manipulating our family finances for years, and I've gathered evidence on this drive. I've established protections for you that she cannot touch, though she will try. Trust no documentation you haven't verified personally. Remember that I've always seen your true worth, even when others tried to diminish it. Be smarter, not angrier. I'm sorry, I won't be there to fight alongside you. Love, Dad." The USB drive contained years of evidence, forged signatures, manipulated documents, secret accounts, and recordings of Diana's conversations with financial advisors where she misrepresented her authority. "This is enough to build a case," Sarah confirmed after reviewing everything. "Not just to recover your funds, but potentially for criminal charges." The most shocking recording was a conversation between Madison and Diana from 2 months before the wedding. "Once you're married to Ryan, we'll have access to Sullivan connections," Diana's voice said. "But we need to neutralize Avery before June." "What about the trust?" Madison asked. "If she's declared mentally incompetent, control reverts to next of kin. The wedding incident will establish the pattern we need. By the time she figures out what's happening, it'll be too late. My own sister plotting to have me declared incompetent for money." "We have enough to move forward," Sarah advised. "But timing is crucial. We need to secure the June trust first, then address the fraud," Jason added, "and Ryan needs to see this before they have legal claim to any Sullivan assets." We worked through the night building our case and preparing for the confrontation we knew would come. My father's words echoed in my mind, "Be smarter, not angrier." The game had changed. They thought I was broken and defeated, but they had no idea what was coming. The morning after our strategy session, I arrived at work despite my boss's suggestion to take time off. I needed normalcy, structure, something to hold on to while my personal life imploded. The office fell awkwardly silent as I walked to my desk, colleagues averting their eyes or watching too intently. Michael called me into his office immediately. His expression was grim as he turned his computer monitor toward me. "These were sent from your email account to our top clients at 2 a.m. The screen displayed emails, dozens of them sent from my work address. They contained confidential client financial information shared with competitors, along with unprofessional personal comments about the clients themselves. "I didn't send these," I said, panic rising. "Someone must have hacked my account." "The system logs show they came from your home IP address using your credentials," Michael said. His tone was professional but distant. "Avery, I have no choice but to suspend you pending investigation. We're also legally obligated to report the data breach to the affected clients." "This is part of a larger attack against me," I tried explaining. "My family is." "I've received calls from your mother and sister expressing concern about your recent behavior," he interrupted. "They mentioned potential medication issues. Regardless, I need your badge and laptop. Our IT department will change all your passwords immediately." Walking out with a cardboard box of personal items, I felt dozens of eyes following me. My professional reputation, built over years of dedicated work, destroyed in a single morning. In the parking lot, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Now no one will believe you about anything. Ready to apologize to Madison yet? I drove to Zoe's apartment in a daze. My career, finances, home reputation systematically dismantled in just days. They're trying to break you, Zoe said, making tea, while I stared blankly at her living room wall. Make you so desperate you'll agree to anything. It's working, I whispered. I have nothing left. You have the truth, she insisted. And people who believe you. But my strength was failing. Every defense required energy I was quickly losing. That afternoon, HR called to inform me that several female colleagues had reported feeling uncomfortable around me recently, citing erratic behavior and concerning comments I had never made. When Sarah called with news that the emergency injunction on my funds had been challenged with documentation of my unstable mental state, submitted as evidence, I finally broke down. I can't fight them anymore, I sobbed to Jason over the phone. They're too connected, too prepared. I have nothing left to lose, but I have no resources to fight with either. That's exactly what they want you to feel, Jason said firmly. Hopeless, isolated, crazy. Don't give them that power. Maybe if I apologize, agree to psychiatric evaluation like they want. And then what he challenged. They'll control your medical treatment, have you declared incompetent, take everything your father protected for you, and you'll spend years trying to prove your sanity. This isn't about the wedding, Avery. It never was. That evening, the lowest point came when I discovered someone had created fake dating profiles using my photos with descriptions suggesting I was looking for wealthy, older men and financial arrangements. The profiles had been shared with partners at my firm. I sat on Zoe's bathroom floor staring at the wall, genuinely questioning my own sanity. Had I somehow caused all this? Was I really the problem all these years? Then my phone lit up with a text from Jason. We found Lauren Thompson. Madison's bridesmaid, Lauren, I would learn, was a skilled amateur hacker who had accessed my accounts using personal information Madison provided. Jason's security team had traced the data breach to her devices. She's willing to talk in exchange for immunity, Jason reported. Apparently, Madison told her it was just a prank to teach you a lesson. When she realized how far it went, she got nervous about potential criminal charges. Lauren's testimony provided the link we needed, proof that the attacks were coordinated and deliberate, not the random actions of a supposedly unstable person. That night, I reread my father's letter. His words anchoring me. I've always seen your true worth, even when others tried to diminish it. In the depths of near surrender, I found unexpected strength. They had taken almost everything, but they hadn't taken my father's belief in me, or the truth he had protected. Tomorrow, we would fight back. The recording changed everything. Jason had managed to place a legal recording device in Madison and Ryan's new home during the housewarming party, in a jurisdiction where one-party consent was sufficient. His timing was impeccable. We need to accelerate things with Avery. Diana's voice came through clearly on the recording. The suspension from her job was perfect, but the trust activation date is approaching. She's staying with that friend. Zoe something, Madison replied. We could send another anonymous complaint to her landlord about disturbing behavior. Not enough. We need her signature on the psychiatric hold forms. If she's institutionalized even briefly, we can use that to challenge her competency for the trust distribution. Ryan's getting suspicious about the stories we've told about her, Madison said, voice lowering. He asked why there are no childhood photos of Avery in any family albums. Keep him distracted with honeymoon plans, Diana instructed. By the time you return, Avery will be handled and will have access to the trust. The Sullivan connections are just the beginning. The most damning exchange came next. What if she fights back with Dad's evidence? You said he was collecting information before he died. William's heart attack was perfectly timed, Diana said coldly. Whatever he thought, he had died with him. The implication hung in the air, too terrible to acknowledge directly. Had my father's death truly been from natural causes? Jason brought the recording directly to Sarah, who determined it constituted legally admissible evidence of conspiracy to commit fraud. This changes our approach, Sarah advised. We now have evidence of a coordinated campaign of harassment, financial fraud, identity theft, computer crimes, and potentially worse. The diary entries were equally incriminating. Jason had photographed pages from Madison's journal during his investigation, revealing years of calculated resentment and strategic planning. Dad's always favored Avery and her intelligence. One entry from 5 years ago read, "Mom says we need to be patient. Once we secure the main estate assets, we'll address the Avery problem permanently." Another entry from just before the wedding was explicit, seating arrangement finalized. Putting Avery by the bathrooms sends the necessary message without creating an obvious scene. If she reacts as predicted, we'll have the first documented episode to build our case. Most disturbingly, Madison had kept meticulous notes on my habits, relationships, and vulnerabilities, information she'd systematically exploited during their attacks. We compiled all evidence into a comprehensive legal package: the forged documents, financial records showing my mother's embezzlement from my father's estate, Lauren's sworn statement about the hacking, the recordings, and documentation of the coordinated harassment campaign. Sarah filed for emergency injunctions, freezing all contested assets, and submitted evidence to the district attorney's office for criminal investigation. The turning point came unexpectedly. Ryan Sullivan arrived at Jason's condo while we were reviewing evidence. "What the hell is going on?" he demanded of his brother. "Madison's family is talking about having her sister committed to a psychiatric facility." Diana asked if I could use Sullivan connections to expedite the process. Jason silently handed him the portfolio of evidence. Ryan's face transformed as he read confusion, disbelief, and finally devastating comprehension. "Madison explained the wedding seating as a misunderstanding," he said quietly. "Said Avery had ongoing mental health issues, that leaving during the reception was just the latest episode." "Listen to the recording," Jason suggested. Ryan's hand shook as he pressed play, and heard his new wife discussing plans to falsify psychiatric reports. "There's more," Jason added, showing him financial records tracing Diana's systematic theft from both Williams' estate and my accounts. "They married you for the Sullivan connections, Ryan. It's part of a larger financial scheme." Ryan left without speaking further. That evening, Madison called me in a fury. "What did you tell Ryan?" "He came home asking questions about Dad's company and your inheritance. He's talking about annulment." "I told him nothing," I responded calmly. "The truth speaks for itself." Her voice turned suddenly saccharine. "Avery, we're sisters. Whatever misunderstandings have happened, we should resolve them as family. Mother is devastated by this rift. Is that why you hacked my work email and destroyed my career?" A pause. "That wasn't me. You know you've been unstable since Dad died. We've all been worried." "Save it, Madison. We have Lauren's testimony about the hacking. And the recordings of you and Mom planning everything." The silence stretched before her voice returned cold and unfamiliar. "You'll regret this. No one crosses Diana Mitchell without consequences." The threat might have terrified me days earlier, but now it merely confirmed we were on the right track. Hours later, my mother called with a different approach. "Avery, I've just come from the doctor. My blood pressure is dangerously high from all this stress. If anything happens to me because of this vendetta of yours..." The manipulation was transparent now. "Is that why Dad's heart medication was missing from his nightstand when he died?" Mom's stress. Her sharp intake of breath was the only answer needed. That night, Sarah called with news. "The judge granted our emergency petition. All contested assets are frozen pending investigation, including the June trust. And the district attorney is reviewing the evidence for potential criminal charges." For the first time in days, I slept without nightmares. The next morning brought a text from Ryan. "We need to talk, all of us. Madison is claiming everything is a misunderstanding. I need to hear all sides directly." We agreed to meet at the Sullivan family attorney's office, neutral ground, with legal witnesses present. It would be the first time I'd face my mother and sister since walking out of the wedding. The confrontation would determine not just financial outcomes but the final truth about the family that had systematically tried to destroy me. The Sullivan family attorney's office occupied the top floor of a downtown high-rise. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of the city, a stark contrast to the emotional storm gathering inside the mahogany-paneled conference room. I arrived with Sarah and Jason, my small alliance against the family that had nearly broken me. My hands trembled slightly until Sarah whispered, "They're afraid of you now, remember that." Madison and Diana entered together, both immaculately dressed and composed. Ryan followed separately, deliberately maintaining distance from his new wife. The Sullivan family attorney, Gregory Winters, and two paralegals completed our circle. "This meeting has been called to address several serious allegations." Gregory began, his tone professionally neutral. "Mr. Sullivan has requested full transparency regarding financial and legal matters affecting both families." Diana spoke first, voice dripping with maternal concern. "We're deeply worried about Avery's mental state. This vindictive campaign stems from long-standing jealousy issues that have unfortunately escalated. We only want to get her appropriate help." "By stealing her inheritance and destroying her career?" Jason asked pointedly. Madison stepped in, eyes glistening with practiced tears. "These accusations are hurtful misunderstandings. Avery has struggled with reality perception since our father died. We've tried to protect her, but—" "Play the recordings," I interrupted calmly. Sarah set up the audio. The room fell silent, as Diana and Madison's own voices filled the space, methodically discussing plans to have me declared mentally incompetent, forge documents, and access protected trusts. Color drained from Diana's face as her own words condemned her. William's heart attack was perfectly timed. Whatever he thought, he had died with him. Ryan stared at Madison, horror evident in his expression. "You married me as part of a financial scheme." "Ryan, I love you," Madison insisted desperately. "Mother sometimes exaggerates, but—" "The financial evidence," Sarah interjected, distributing folders containing documentation of systematic fraud spanning years. Bank records confirming transfers from Avery's accounts using forged authorizations. Corporate documents with William Mitchell's forged signature dated after his death. And Madison's detailed notes outlining the plan to orchestrate Avery's professional and personal destruction following the wedding incident. Diana's carefully maintained facade cracked. "These recordings were obtained illegally, and these financial matters are complex family issues being grossly mischaracterized." "One-party consent is legal in this jurisdiction," Sarah countered. "And fraud, identity theft, and potential involuntary manslaughter aren't family issues. They're felonies." At the word manslaughter, Ryan stood abruptly. "What exactly are you implying about William Mitchell's death?" Sarah presented pharmacy records and medical examiner notes. William Mitchell's heart medication was refilled 2 weeks before his death, yet none was found in his system during the autopsy. The prescription bottle was empty when police inventoried the scene. Diana's composure shattered entirely. "You ungrateful little bitch," she hissed at me, mask finally dropped. "Everything I've done has been for this family's advancement. William would have squandered our potential with his small-minded ethics." Mom, Madison gasped, realizing too late that her mother was incriminating them both. Diana Mitchell Gregory intervened. "I strongly advise you to stop speaking immediately." "Why?" Diana laughed bitterly. "Avery has always been a problem, never understanding her place, just like her father. Always questioning, always judging. The Sullivans were our opportunity to secure the position we deserve in society, and she nearly ruined everything with her dramatic exit." Madison attempted damage control. "Mother is upset. These allegations are causing tremendous stress." "The hallway seating at your wedding was deliberate, wasn't it?" Ryan asked quietly. Madison faltered. "It was symbolic. Avery needed to understand her role in the family." "And what role is that?" I asked, finding strength in finally confronting them directly. "The inconvenient daughter," Diana snapped. "The one who got special treatment from William for no reason beyond his misplaced sentimentality." "This meeting is over," Gregory announced. "Based on the evidence presented, I'm advising my clients to cooperate fully with authorities. Mrs. Mitchell, Miss Madison Mitchell Sullivan, you should contact criminal defense attorneys immediately." Diana stood smoothing her designer dress. "This pathetic display changes nothing. We have connections your father never had, Avery. The Mitchell name still carries weight." "Actually," Sarah interjected, "as of this morning, the district attorney has frozen all Mitchell family assets pending criminal investigation. The evidence has been deemed sufficiently compelling to proceed with formal charges." The color drained from Diana's face. You're bluffing. Sarah slid a document across the table. Search and seizure warrant for the Mitchell residence and Diana Mitchell's personal financial records. The FBI's Financial Crimes Unit is executing it as we speak. Madison collapsed into tears, real ones this time. Mother, what have you done? What have you made me do? Ryan looked at his new wife with cold finality. My attorney will contact you regarding annulment proceedings. The Sullivan family will not be associated with fraud and potential murder. As Diana and Madison were escorted out by security, Ryan turned to me. I'm truly sorry, Avery. I had no idea. Neither did I for too long, I admitted. We both believed what we wanted to see. The following weeks brought a whirlwind of legal proceedings. Diana was arrested for financial fraud, identity theft, and investigation into my father's death was reopened. Madison, facing lesser but still serious charges, began cooperating with authorities, claiming she was manipulated by Diana. A familiar pattern of avoiding responsibility. My stolen inheritance was returned with interest. The June Trust activated early due to special circumstances, securing the financial independence my father had intended for me. Most vindicating was discovering his original corporate succession plan, naming me as future CEO of Mitchell Developments, a role Diana had erased through forgery. With sufficient evidence of malicious action, Sarah successfully sued for damages to my professional reputation. Former colleagues reached out with apologies as the truth spread, and Michael Reynolds offered my position back with a substantial raise. The most validating moment came when we found my father's hidden records, comprehensive documentation of Diana's financial manipulations dating back years. He'd been building a case to protect both the company and me, aware of Diana's true nature long before any of us realized. Diana's carefully constructed social position crumbled as former friends distanced themselves from the scandal. The Mitchell name indeed carried weight, but not the kind she had craved. Justice had prevailed, but at tremendous cost. The family I once knew was gone forever, replaced by the harsh truth of who they really were. As Madison awaited sentencing, she requested a meeting. Against all advice, I agreed to see her one final time. 1 year after leaving Madison's wedding, I sat across from her in a sunlit cafe downtown. The sister I'd known was barely recognizable in this subdued woman with prison regulation haircut and simple clothing. Her 3-year sentence for fraud and conspiracy had been reduced to 18 months with good behavior. Today marked her first week of freedom. Thank you for meeting me, she said, eyes downcast. I wasn't sure you would. Neither was I admitted, studying her. The polished facade was gone, revealing someone both familiar and foreign. After Diana's arrest, the full extent of her manipulation had gradually emerged. Financial fraud spanning decades, systematic emotional abuse disguised as maternal guidance, and most devastating, the medical examiner's conclusion that our father's heart attack had likely been induced by deliberate medication tampering, though conclusive evidence remained elusive after 5 years. Diana was serving 20 years, without possibility of early parole. I've had a lot of time to think, Madison said, turning her coffee cup slowly. The therapist in prison helped me understand Mother's influence. How she shaped me from childhood to be her instrument. I remained silent, neither accepting nor rejecting her implicit excuse. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she continued, noticing my expression. What we did to you was unforgivable. I just wanted you to know that I see it now, the patterns, the manipulation, how she positioned us against each other from the beginning. It wasn't just Mother, I finally responded. You made your choices, Madison. She nodded, tears forming. I know. Every time you achieved something, she would whisper about how it threatened my position. How your intelligence made my beauty less valuable. How Father's attention to you diminished me. Eventually, I couldn't separate her voice from my own thoughts. The admission hung between us, raw and painful. After the legal dust settled, I'd spent months in therapy unpacking our family's toxic dynamics. Understanding didn't equal forgiveness, but it helped me contextualize the damage. What will you do now? I asked. Start over somewhere new. Legally changed my name back to Mitchell. Sullivan wasn't mine to keep. Found a small apartment and a job at a local florist. She gave a wry smile. Turns out arranging flowers is the only skill I have that wasn't taught by mother for status purposes. Our conversation remained cautious, neither fully reconnecting nor completely severing what remained of our relationship. We established boundaries, monthly check-ins, no financial entanglements, complete transparency. Trust, if it ever returned, would be earned incrementally over years, not granted in a single emotional moment. My own life had transformed dramatically. With my professional reputation restored and financial security established, I'd had freedom to reevaluate what actually mattered to me. I'd left the accounting firm using my inheritance to establish a financial literacy foundation, helping victims of economic abuse, people whose financial independence had been systematically undermined by family members or partners. Dad would have approved of using his legacy this way. My relationship with Jason had evolved unexpectedly. What began as tactical alliance during crisis bloomed gradually into friendship, then something deeper. His unwavering support during my darkest moments had revealed character that continued to show itself in everyday kindness. The Mitchell family home, scene of so many painful memories, was sold, the proceeds establishing a scholarship fund in my father's name. I purchased a modest house across town, deliberately choosing features completely unlike my childhood home. No formal dining room, no grand staircase, nothing that echoed Diana's obsession with appearances. Most significantly, I'd learned to recognize and dismantle the internal voice that sounded suspiciously like my mother and sister, the one always questioning my worth, always suggesting I was somehow lesser. Therapy helped me understand how years of systematic undermining had installed those doubt patterns and how to consciously replace them with my father's affirming perspective instead. Do you ever wonder what might have been different if Dad had confronted Mother directly? Madison asked as our meeting drew to a close. Sometimes, I admitted. But he was gathering evidence to protect us both. He just ran out of time. She would have found another way, Madison said softly. People like Mother always do. The only real protection is recognizing the pattern before it destroys you. As we parted, Madison hesitated. I know we can never be the sisters we should have been. But I hope someday you can believe that I truly regret who I became under her influence. I nodded, neither promising forgiveness nor rejecting the possibility. Goodbye, Madison. Walking away, I felt lighter, not from reconciliation, but from finally accepting that family bonds don't obligate us to accept mistreatment. Sometimes the healthiest family relationship is a distant one, governed by careful boundaries. Jason was waiting at our favorite park bench, respectfully giving me space for the difficult meeting. How did it go? He asked, taking my hand. About as expected, I replied. She's different. Whether that's genuine change or just adjustment to new circumstances, time will tell. And how are you feeling? He asked, his concern genuine. I considered the question carefully. At peace, mostly. I'll never have the sister I wanted or the mother I deserved. But I've stopped letting their version of me determine my worth. The most profound lesson from this painful journey wasn't about family betrayal or justice served. It was learning that we can't control how others treat us, only how we respond. By walking out of that wedding when I discovered my hallway seat, I'd finally refused to accept the role they'd assigned me. That single act of self-respect had triggered their worst behavior but ultimately led to freedom I might never have found otherwise. You know what's ironic? I told Jason as we walked through the autumn leaves. If they'd just treated me with basic dignity at the wedding, their whole financial scheme might have succeeded. Their need to humiliate me one last time is what brought everything crashing down. Sometimes the most important family we find isn't the one we're born into, but the one we build consciously with people who value us for exactly who we are. Have you ever had to walk away from family members who consistently treated you poorly? What boundaries have you had to set with difficult relatives? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to remove yourself from toxic family situations. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that your worth isn't determined by how others treat you, but by the courage you show in honoring yourself. Stay strong.